Causes of the French Revolution. Foreign troops in France brought in by Louis XVI caused public outrage among the Parisians. There was an economic slump in France, and poor harvests were causing famine among the peasants. The debt that had been building since the days of Louis XIV had reached a critical point, and the refusal of Louis XVI to agree to the terms of the National Assembly, which represented the people, caused unrest among the populace. The inefficient taxes did little to help the economy, and they drained money from the people. But when nobles tried to revive feudal responsibilities on the peasants, it led to a building of unrest which caused the revolution.
The National Assembly was composed of the Third Estate and some sympathetic members of the First and Second Estate. They resolved to rule France following the guidelines of constitution set down in the Tennis Court Oath. It allied itself with the capitalists and the common people. It was ordered by Louis XVI to cease meeting and challenging his power. Louis XVI brings in foreign troops, tries to move and National Assembly away from Paris. Public outrage led to storming of Bastille, which led to the start of the French Revolution. The National Convention was a body of government that succeeded the Legislative Assembly. For the first time, members of the government were elected by the people. Voting requirements set down previously by the Legislative Assembly were: had to be living in France for more than a year, had to be living off your own money and working. This was the first instance of universal male suffrage. It went against the ideas that started the revolution. Instead of separation of power, there was confusion of powers. Members of National Convention given executive powers used them to dictate what the next move of all of France would be, usually controlled by the majority Revolutionary Party. It fell apart after Reign of Terror and Thermidorian reaction because the National Convention was in reality led by the members of the Committee of Public Safety, who were then executed.
The Jacobins were a group of radicals that would eventually become the heads of government. They believed in a government that held all the power and made decisions on everything and controlled the economy. They had the support of the people who were confused and wanted to be led in times of the French Revolution. They gained support of the sans-culottes, who were the working class men, and took the Girondins out of power. They became the majority in the National Convention and led it for a time. The Girondins were the opposition party to the Jacobins. They were the original dominant faction of the National Convention, and they believed in decentralized government where provinces or departments handled most of their own affairs. They believed in the government not interfering in the economy or laissez-faire. The Thermidorian reaction was caused by people tired of living in fear. The Reign of Terror had gone out of control and they began murdering innocent citizens. People rose up and arrested members of the CPS and the National Convention. All those that were considered responsible for the Reign of Terror were put to the guillotine in the Thermidorian reaction. With most of the members of the National Convention dead, a new government with new members had to be formed.
The Directory was meant to ensure peace between political parties. 5 directors oversaw the running of France, had military success but greatly unpopular on home front. Coup d'etat replaces original members of the Jacobins. Abbe Sieyès stages a second coup, intending to put himself in power and get rid of Jacobins. Napoleon executed a coup within a coup, and then put himself in power.
The first of Napoleon's 3 big mistakes as Emperor of France was against the British. The French defeat at Trafalgar made a naval invasion of England impossible. Napoleon set up the continental system, an attempt to ban English exports. The English exports were smuggled in anyways, and France lost the ability to tax these exports. Great Britain gained money from raised prices on illegal exports, so the continental system benefited Great Britain and harmed France.
The second mistake of Napoleon was his invasion of Portugal. Napoleon sent many soldiers to Portugal through Spain, where soldiers were meant to subdue rebellious Portuguese. Spanish guerrillas constantly ambushed and attacked French soldiers. Napoleon ordered them on. Only few soldiers made it back.
Napoleon's third big mistake was his invasion of Russia. He started his invasion in summer, but it took more time than expected. The soldiers were stuck in Russia in the winter wearing only light uniforms, and they froze to death. They had no food or supplies due to the scorched earth policy, where everything was burned so the soldiers couldn't take the Russian supplies. The invasion culminated in the burning of Moscow, where the Tsar set fire to Moscow in order to prevent France from taking it. Because the soldiers didn't have any supplies, they froze to death or starved, and Napoleon lost most of his great invasion force.